Hello to all of our Family Burrito podcast listener out there whose father said, "What the hell's that smell? And don't ever make that shit again," when you thought you would do something nice for him by making him a yummy Asian dinner. Welcome back to the Family Burrito podcast, episode 55. My name is Christine. My sister Jessie and I created this podcast as a way to heal our "what the hell is that smell? And don't ever make that shit again" father wounds, Jessie.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
Man, what an asshole. Because he liked Asian food.
Yeah, and it's so funny because he would always like cook for me. I love your cooking. I mean, he pestered me, and so I decided to, and I usually would make like lasagna or spaghetti and things like that, but I don't know. He like flew in the door. I don't know if he was on cocaine or what was the deal, but he definitely wasn't hungry, but he walked in, and that was not the reaction I was expecting, Jessie.
What a dick.
Yeah, he was like, "What the hell is it? Don't ever make that shit again." I was like, "God, it was just Asian food."
I wonder why he died alone.
Exactly. Correct, right? Yeah.
I mean, he was just so fucking sweet to everybody.
Yeah, he was a little sweetheart, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's just crazy because he'd always be like, like I said, pestering me to make him, and I'd have to really be in the mood to deal with him. I love to cook. I actually love to cook. I love to like serve people their like entrees. I don't know what it is. Because I like, just like, for example, I made taco soup yesterday.
Yeah.
And I like the cheese melted a certain way and the chips and all that and presents it to people. But with him, he was, my rule of thumb is people, they're either draining my energy or they're giving me energy, and he definitely drained it. And so I'd have to really be in the mood to know that I'm gonna have my energy drained. And but usually he liked my food, but so that was a bit of a surprise. Yeah,
I would have just thrown it at him.
I think I was in shock because I was like, does it really smell that bad? Like, it's just a little soy sauce and little.
One time I threw my taco casa at him.
You did? Why?
Yeah. Or Taco Cabana, whatever taco shop it was in Texas. Because he was being a dick. I don't remember exactly. I was like 16. I was still dating Evan. So that was forever ago.
Yeah, he probably said something embarrassing to Evan about you, and so that's probably why.
Yeah, we were just arguing, and I threw my food at him, and then he took my car keys away from me. But then he realized I had to go to school the next day.
Yeah.
He was like, I guess.
So, okay, do you remember, was it a taco? Was it a burrito? Was it a whole thing of nachos?
I think it was like a fajita thing. I think it was the fajitas.
Fajitas? You threw fajitas?
Yeah, it was hot. I remember it being hot. I was like, I hope this burns him.
Did you throw it at his like face or his arm?
Yeah, his face. Was
he shocked?
Yeah, and so was Evan.
Evan was there. Yeah. What did
like,
they do? Yeah. You're like, this was you and Evan's first date? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no. Unfortunately, Evan already found out how crazy I was before that. But yeah, like, I don't know. As a teenager, I think that like we can all relate to having crazy hormonal crap.
Well, yeah. Well, you had an emotionally abusive dad who would scream at you. So, I mean, how are you supposed to react? You know what I mean? Like
throwing food.
Yeah. Throwing food. I mean,
But I mean, at the same time, like I know that like I could have handled it better, right? But still,
yeah.
Like sometimes, like I feel like being a child is just like it's the best reaction. Because we are all children, like we're just all grown up children.
Yeah.
So if we need to react, I guess we should just throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah. It's interesting you're talking about that because there is, I believe she is like a therapist. Yeah, she's a therapist. Her name is Deb Dana, and she's part of that polyvagal theory research crew. And Dr. Stephen Porges, he is actually a scientist. He's not even a clinician, and he years ago started wanting to study nervous systems in mammals and newborns and the vagus nerve. And it wasn't for any sort of mental health psychiatric reasons, but the things that he stumbled across was helping people who have trauma.
Yeah.
And I was reading she has this book on, it's like basically for therapists, like a guide. And I was like barely into it. And I was just like blown away because it was talking about the 3 parts of our nervous system. But basically, before the brain even decides, your nervous system has already decided if something is not safe. And so when people react, we judge them because we're like, they should know better, but they're nervous. They're just reacting. Their nervous system has already said, this is dangerous. And so like, I think I've talked about this before, like, we're, as humans, we're wired for connection, but we get rewired by our parents for protection, and it's our nervous system. And so basically, our nervous system doesn't have this built up resilience, that just takes time doing it over and over. By having awareness and figuring out your clues and your cues that your nervous system might find dangerous, like, because it's in survival mode. And so I just think that's interesting how, like I was reacting today with my nervous system for sure. Poor Jeff, because I'm a very tone person. My nervous system is very sensitive to tones. If your tone, my nervous system will decide in 2 seconds if your tone.
So is Michael. Michael's the same way. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I'm
and
tone deaf.
It's not even yelling. It's just a tone.
Right.
And
yeah. Because he'll tell me I have attitude. He's like, your attitude. I'm like, what attitude? Like what tone? And he's like, you don't hear it in your voice. I'm like, no.
Yeah. So we went to we're building a house, and we're figuring out like who the builder is going to be, and we decided on the one today. He's actually, he lives in the neighborhood we're going to build in, this builder, so I'm super excited. Nice. And so when there are talks that's just that's very analytical, about retaining walls and blah blah blah, I'm not listening. And there was somebody, the designer lady in the room. And so her and I were kind of doing a lot of cross talking. Anyways, so we're in the car, and he said something about, we may have to look at building a 2-story. And I was like, huh? And he's like, you didn't hear what he said? And I said, no. And he said something about a retaining wall. And he goes, do you not care about that? And the way his tone was, I read it as, oh, you don't care about that? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, I don't have enough information to whether I care or not. I don't know anything about retaining walls or, what, we haven't even looked at 2-story. So it was like all these things happen. And I was just like, why are you attacking me? And he was like, I was just asking a question, but his tone. Right. And so, but anyways, he, we all have our thing, and his is kind of like, well, she's reacting, so I'm going to shut down. You know what I mean? I'm going to get quiet,
And I get quiet too. Yeah. I'm like, if I don't, because now I don't even know what words to say. And if I do speak, it's all blah, 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 blah.
Right. So you're just like, I'm not. Yeah. Well, and then I react if you shut down, because now I'm like, I go into this total, like, I have done something so wrong. I can't do anything right, and he's not even talking, Jesse. He asked me one question. What, you don't care about that? And I'm just exploded. Well, I'm also PMSing too. So, but yeah, and
I don't care. I don't know about these walls. Things.
And I guess like, of course, there's so many things read into that, because I care so much about so many things. That's the problem. I care too much. I'm codependent, And so about 5 things are under the umbrella of what, you don't care about that, so I'm attacked. He doesn't think I care, and it's just, and then I have my reaction. Then I'm like, oh crap, he's going to end this because I'm so dramatic, and then we're just all fucked. We're all fucked up, Jesse. We're just all fucked up.
I know. Like, that's why when, like, every time I get in an argument with anybody, I'm just like, man, why did I react that way? And
Yeah.
it's always a reaction. It's never like
Yes. A
thought
response.
through. It's
Yeah.
never like, oh, you know, maybe I should just write this down and then delete it or anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'll full blown attack a motherfucker. Like, one of my old friends, like, she left me on red for like a week. And there's other shit going on behind the scenes, right? But I got mad because she left me on red for a week.
What's that mean? Left you on
She
red?
left me. She read my text but didn't respond back.
Oh, so she didn't respond.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I reacted. Like what? And my reaction times are always in the morning. Like why? Like I'm like I wake up and I'm ready to attack. War.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love, because see, the thing is, you're starting to have awareness to your reactions, and the timing of it is really cool, because I remember I started going, why is it around 3 o'clock in the afternoon? I just want to overeat. I want to use those unhealthy coping skills I was taught, you know, why is it at 3 o'clock, around 3? I mean, for years I was like, but I just remember I was like, why is it around 3? And then I was like, oh, that's when I would come home from school. My mom would slam the cabinet doors.
Right. Yeah. And see, and like I react kind of like, or maybe my mom would in that instance, because if you don't respond to her right away, she would be like, what did I do wrong? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, but I went off on her, and I made a lot of like things personal. You know, where I couldn't have to do that.
Let me ask you a question. What was it about her not responding to you that triggered you?
I hate being ignored. And me and both like had like talked about how we don't like sending our friends text messages and being left on red, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because she's from a different state as well, and like she was talking to me and confronting me about friends not talking to her anymore from this place that she lived. And then I used that, of course, you know, when I had ammo, boom 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 boom, I used that. I was like, you wonder why people don't talk to you from where you're from, you know, like it was so uncalled for in a lot of ways. But at the time I was like, fuck this bitch.
And this was after a week of her not responding to you?
Yeah. And then like, and she didn't respond because other things were happening behind the scenes that like, and by the way, like, mind you, I was coming off painkillers. So like my mind was also not like in the right spot. Like,
yeah, you're still healing and stuff. Yeah.
Not a good excuse either way, but like that was my, like, me responding to her not responding to me, coming down from these painkillers, especially. Like, I don't know if you like, I don't know about other people, but like I turned into a bitch on Oxy. Like I am a raging CUNT, man. It is bad. And like, thank God that I was asleep for most of this time, you know. But like when I was on my I had to take painkillers for my wisdom teeth, and for some reason, like I could not go to sleep, and I was just a bitch to everybody. I was like, don't fucking talk.
Yeah. Painkillers, I don't like them. I do not get any sleep. They actually wire me, and so I don't. Yeah. So did she respond to you?
Yeah, she said that she needed a break.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And then I responded with bet. And I blocked her and like responded with another childish response, because my feelings were hurt.
Yeah. Well, you felt rejected, and everybody needs space, like, you know, and you know, everybody
we hadn't kicked it in like 2 weeks. I mean, 2 months. So I'm like, space from what? Space for not seeing me?
Maybe she was referring to all the stuff going on in her life. I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, and like, and she, and you know, of course there was other things going on behind the scenes that like involve other people. So I'm not really gonna talk about it. But it was just kind of like, is this really gonna end our friendship because I had a shitty moment? Like, but it definitely did, because I hit up one of her friends on Instagram and I was like, is this how she responds when she's called out?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that friend like went to her and said I was talking shit.
Mm.
But I wasn't. It was like Thursday. I even asked Jackie, I was like, if this is how you like respond to people like asking you why you're doing certain things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when people say that they need space, that's saying a lot more. Like, you need to like explain yourself, bitch.
Well, here's the thing, and this is in that book, that Deb Dana book, that this is what happens is that when people have reactions, everyone judges that reaction, and it just reinforces the whole cycle of this reaction, you know. And so, you know, we have society's conditioning, all that kind of stuff, and so it just reinforces, we judge, you know.
Yeah.
And instead of having compassion, and also in that you had some sort of attachment with it, like this attachment, you were trying to get something from her that she wasn't able to give, and there was an expectation, I'm not sure, but really I think this is a really good piece, because I would explore this more, journal this, because really what was the emotion, and what did this remind you of? Because our brain makes a decision, our nervous system makes a decision, half a second, something's not safe. Yours over a week, and then I don't know what happened. What could have happened is whatever time, like your unconscious could have been picking up stuff for the last couple of days prior to this, that your nervous system said, things aren't safe. Like, I'm going to Walmart and someone's being rude, you know, all of these things. Yeah. And then your nervous system was like, I'm going to react. I'm not safe. But what happens is your past literally comes in your present. So when you're reacting to things, it has nothing to do with that person. It is something or someone that reminds you of childhood, because it's your amygdala in your brain that holds your childhood memories that say, this isn't safe. And it sends all these stress signals and stuff and cortisol and all this kind of stuff to your body. And so I would explore, like, who does this remind you of? Like, who in childhood like shut down, wouldn't respond, you know, who, because it's sort of like abandonment in a way. And so something in your system, when it kicked into the survival mode, that reminded you of something in childhood. And that's just something that I
probably just being abandoned.
Yeah, from birth.
You know, yeah, like I mean, it's not like, it's not her fault that I have fucked up childhood. Like,
yeah,
so did she, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why we kind of like bonded up over our like fucked up.
Right. And we all, and like I say, we're all at the airport with our childhood luggage, and I don't know what's in your luggage, even though you're my sister and I know a lot of the experiences you have. I still don't know fully what's in your luggage, and you don't know fully what's in my luggage.
Yeah.
But I may make assumptions about your luggage or even judge your luggage, and same vice versa, right? Like, you know, you could be like, God, she is 45 and she's still like over here, you know, having reactions to people's tone, to the guy that she loves, his tone, you know, when he's asking a damn question, like, what, you don't care about that? You know what I mean? Like, get together, girl. But here's the thing is, like, you know, when we, like, in teenage, whatever, childhood, we first start like using substances, smoking weed, drinking, all of that stuff like delays our healing. So we're all on our own timeline we're supposed to be, you know what I mean? And so there's nothing you need to be this far ahead or that far ahead. Like, you know, your shift, you know, you already have awareness. The fact that you're able to recognize the parts that, here's what I love about you, Jessie, is that you are holding yourself accountable, and you're like, this is where I reacted, and I know this, you know, I know what happened, I know this is, but this is, people have awareness, they just like, I don't know what to do with it. And that's the piece that people get very frustrated with, because we're all really smart, you know, we're all intelligent, you know, and we think because we're intelligent, not because, oh, we're so smart, that we should know how to do this or we should know better. But it's not, it's our conditioned nervous system that without unconsciously, there were things already picked up before this where we had our reaction. And like, also like, you know, we were in that meeting for, I don't know, 2.5 hours, and I was starving and I had a headache. And so I definitely was not coming from a good place, and I'm messing, right? Yeah. And so, and I didn't sleep very well, you know? So my reaction had multiple factors to it, you know? And of course I apologize, you know, sorry for being grumpy, but you know, the cool thing about being in a relationship or a friendship, you know, that is trust. And, basically it's not about, going on a date or having, going on vacation and walking the beach. The key to like a strong relationship is learning how to fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because everybody's going to argue, right? Like getting healthy relationships. And, at the same time, like, I'm not saying that her reaction wasn't like, like, I don't know, like, what am I trying to say? Like she did it for certain reasons, probably because of her past trauma.
Well, yeah. And I think part of it is you don't understand it. You don't understand her reaction. And so when we don't understand things, we naturally make assumptions that it's something about me. And then you get pissed because you're like, I didn't even do anything. And then so you created this whole scenario in your head, right? And that comes from this survival place, from being raised by an abusive father who screamed at you. I mean, screaming is abuse, And so, that's how you were taught. That's how you weren't even taught how to cope. Like, so.
Well, mind you, right after I said those mean things, like after I said that, I like kind of took a few steps back and said that was out of pocket.
I love it.
And I was like, that wasn't right of me to say that. And then she said that she needed space. So I think that the fact that I like took back, like, hey, bro, I was just upset. Like, I expected her to kind of be like, it's okay, you just had a traumatic experience.
Yeah, right. And
like, I guess I expected too much out of, like, don't have expectations for motherfuckers, right? Like,
well, here's the thing. Were you ever told it's okay?
No, I mean, no.
So she probably was never told it's okay either. And so we expect these things from people that were never taught this. Like, I remember it'd been many years since I'd been to the dentist, and I finally decided I'm going to go to the dentist. And I got on the way to the dentist. I mean, this was years ago, but I got so worked up. I mean, I was in a panic. I was starting to have panic attack. I don't know why, at this point, it was a long time ago, and I mean, I get to the dentist and they couldn't even work on me because my blood pressure was so high. And I was freaking out. I'm like, I'm going to have a stroke, like everything all at once. And I got in the car and I couldn't even get on the highway. I was just freaking out. So I called my aunt, and I was like a 45-minute drive, and I was just crying. And I was like, I don't know, like, what is going on. And then as I'm talking, probably about 20 minutes into it, I've realized is that I never had a parent ever say, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, take it, like my mom would take me to the dentist. Thank you, Mom, for doing that. But never would say, I mean, she had all of her anxiety, like thunderstorms, getting on an airplane. I mean, she conditioned me to believe, to have all these fears that aren't even true. You know what I mean? And so I remember just crying. Like, I never had anybody say it's going to be okay. Or if I was going through something, they never said that. They were actually mean, Yeah. There was no support, And so that's why, like, when I have clients that tell me, start telling me about their childhood, I just tell them that I'm sorry this happened to you and it's not your fault, because I wish somebody had told me that when I was a kid, that it's not your fault. It's not your fault. But you have these years of these crazy people conditioning you to believe it's your fault. You can't do anything right, and yada, yada, yada. And then what's so crazy is the thing that we're actually trying to get away from unconsciously, we recreate the same freaking trauma by getting in toxic relationships, friendships, whatever. We recreate it because it's familiar to us. It's familiar to our nervous system. And so we're just all trying to do the best we can, I suppose,
Yeah, right. Well, there's so many different types of people, like,
yeah.
So, like, if you are like creating a new friendship or a relationship or whatever, and you think that you know who they are, and then their true colors start arising years later, after you like committed time into this like relationship or friendship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's what bugs me. I'm like, why did I just spend so much time and effort to try to like go out of my way and be friends with this person or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, a lot of the friendships I've had were ruined because of stupid reactions that like could have all been avoided, but we're all children, we're all just little babies living in adult bodies.
Yep.
And it's not always like, and it wasn't always my reaction. Sometimes people would react to something I did and friendship's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know for me, kind of on the friendship part, I would say, so my thing is like, you know, we're just all energetic matches at the time we're matches, you know. I certainly, there are friends that I'm not friends with anymore that I was friends with for years. We're just not energetic matches because they're, in my view, they're still stagnant. And I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I mean that in their awareness is not it drains my energy. It used to give me energy, but it's so stagnant, it drains my energy and I can't be around it. And I'm also not rescuing and saving anymore, you know, that codependent. And so it's interesting when you stop rescuing and saving people, those people that you were doing that, they all of a sudden they don't want to be your friend anymore, you know, because you're not doing shit for them anymore. And they're going to go find another resource, another, you know. And people who are constantly needing things and you start finally telling them no, it's interesting. They will find another resource, you know. And people need to freaking go through stuff. Like, that's how you get resilience, is going through stuff, you know, the struggle. And that's actually where the beauty lies, is in the struggle, you know what I mean? And overcoming that. And there's another struggle. I mean, it's everything waxes and wanes, but I know for me with friendships, I've had definitely this perfection thing, like, oh, the perfect friend, the perfect guy, you know, all of this stuff. And that's still sort of some, I mean, I'm kind of over that. Like, there's no such thing as perfection. And actually in my human design, like it says, like that's a theme for me, you know. And and that I sort of, what happens is when I'll go through shifts where I realize, like, oh, there is no such thing. Like, I get very depressed, and it's true, you know. But what happens in that piece where I'm thinking, oh, perfect friend, I don't see their flaws. It's like kind of like when you're in love, the beginning of like being in love, you don't see any of the flaws because you're oxytocin and all that stuff. You don't see that. And then you start seeing it. But the thing with me is I won't see it for a long time because I'm still, oh, you know, this perfect thing. And man, how much pressure it is to be my friend. You know what I mean? You got to be perfect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and well, that's, I don't know. I think that we all kind of have that. But I mean, I don't know. I knew going into most of my friendships, you know, that like our differences were there. Like, I meet most of my friends at the gym. So like, either they're going to be super health freaks or they're going to be very new to the gym. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I have a variety of that, but I think that at a certain point, people start like thinking they're better than you, or like judging. They just start judging things you do, and I'm like,
yeah. Well, and also too, we unconsciously do the thing where we're still trying to get the thing that we didn't get in childhood, and it's the thing that we're never going to get. And I remember after when Dad died, having
somebody to play with me. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, and but also they say that's a good way to heal some of your trauma is playtime. Go play with the dog, you know, go play with a baby, you know. But yeah, we're also looking for the thing that we didn't get, and we're never going to get it ever. We're never going to get it. And so you just walk with it, and it's just like surrender, because, and what's so interesting when you do that, you actually sort of end up getting that thing. It's crazy. Like when you finally just let go of that attachment and that need and go, you know what? I am worthy. I am freaking good. Like I am amazing. I'm good. And actually the thing too is that the thing you didn't get in childhood is the thing that you become. You become the thing that you didn't have in childhood. You become
Money.
your role model. You become your own best friend. Fall in love with loving yourself.
Yeah, right. I love it. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of, I think that everybody has a lot of like personal work they got to do.
Yep.
But,
And that's their own business.
Yeah. And
Everyone's going to have an opinion, and that's fine. Like what I say about my mom, her opinion of me is none of my business. And why would I care about someone's opinion who's got a lot of issues, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've never really cared about people's opinion. Have I told you about the story about when I moved to Colorado originally, the first time, these girls thought I saw dead people. So like,
when you were a kid?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was like 9, 10.
Okay. And they said they thought you said you saw dead people?
Yeah, because I said y'all when there's only one person.
That's interesting. Kids are silly. Wow.
So they would like walk away from me. Like I would have my lunch tray and sit down with them at lunch or whatever, and they would get their lunch trays and walk off.
Interesting. So rejection at 9 by friends, and here we are.
Yeah, rejection by friends. But but the thing is, like, as a kid, I really didn't give a fuck. Like, I just went and played on the swing set, and I didn't even ask them why they did that. They had to come to me and tell me. They're like, you know why we stopped hanging out with you or whatever? It's because we think you see dead people.
Yeah, girls are ruthless. Sophia's 12, and I mean, man, 7th grade. Ooh, there's been
some of those girls need to get punched in the face.
I don't know.
I will beat up a kid.
Yeah, and the boys are just as bad. Like, she actually, and I don't want to reveal her secrets. I think she would kill me. But she had some issues with being sexually harassed by this boy. And I will say the school did a great job. They stepped in, they're changing his schedule. He was disciplined and he apologized. But I'm like, I guess when I was in 7th grade, I don't remember that drama, because that's when my mom kicked me out of the house and I moved to Georgia. And so there was this sort of halfway in between school of 7th grade where I left all my friends that I knew from childhood and went and started anew and trying to make new friends in Georgia. And then of course, getting to know your mother and then, dad. And it was just, my drama was so internal. Like I didn't see what anybody else was doing, but apparently 7th grade can be pretty rough.
Oh yeah. I remember one time this kid came up to the locker and he was like, I heard you give good blowjobs. I kicked him in the nuts.
You did?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He just called me crazy.
Hey, Jessie, how many times do you think you've been called crazy in your life?
I mean, it was literally my nickname in high school, crazy white girl. Like, there was a point in time where I was living with Evan, kind of, and he lived in these apartment buildings where some kids that I went to school with lived. And Evan had just gotten arrested because, there were drugs involved, and he got arrested. And one of these crackheads and I were like fucking arguing. Like, I was about to fight a crackhead.
How old were you?
Like 17. And this girl from school was walking upstairs and she was with one of her homegirls, and her homegirl was staring at me, and I looked at them and I was like, what the fuck are you looking at? And the girl I knew from school, like, I had like smoked blunts with her and everything. She was like, don't look at her, don't bother her, she's crazy. I was like, man, even when like the most, because this is the ghetto, so like even when the most ghetto people are like, she's crazy.
Yeah. So Evan lived in the ghetto? Like,
yeah, because it was right off Cherry Lane on I-30. So
that's when his like parents had kicked him out.
And dad helped him get an apartment. Yeah.
So dad got him an apartment in the ghetto. That's funny.
It was funny. Cheap. It was cheap.
Right. It's probably fully furnished.
Oh my gosh. But like, it was so many crackheads, and I was about to fight one of the crackheads that stayed there. Yeah, I remember one time, like, we got in a rock fight. Like, we were throwing rocks at people and they were throwing rocks back. Yeah, just insane. What? Like, those were the good old days.
I'm telling you, I know exactly what you mean, because I you know, when I was a teenager, I'd buy my weed from the Crips, you know, the gang, and I'd go hang out with them and play dominoes. Like, I felt safe because, you know, at home, there's only one person, either my mom or be my dad, you know, and they're abusive. So the people who look like me are the scariest people on earth, you know? And so I felt safe around a group of people who, yeah, they're protecting their stuff, you know, but it was community. It felt like a family, and I just felt safe there. And here I am, this hippie white girl, you know, who would rather be out of her middle class, you know, white family neighborhood and go hang out and go play dominoes and hang out with the Crips. Like, I'll never forget it. And it's funny, I look back and I go, wow, that's so fascinating, because it was community. And that's what I wanted. I wanted like a family, and they were very nice.
Join the Crips.
Yeah, they were very, very nice. And it was a very, very good time. And then I think one of them ended up going to jail, and then I don't know. But
yeah, I had a friend named Tater Tot. He was a Crip, and he's he's in federal prison for life for killing his brother and his girlfriend. He caught them having sex, and he cut off the girlfriend's head and drove around with it on top of his car. So he got arrested.
That's crazy. That's
true crazy.
Well, Jessie, I don't know anything else, baby girl. I love you, crazy ass.
I love you too. Merry Christmas,
bye.
by the way.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
Bye.